If you guys have been following Fosi's BT20Aa lineup, you know the drill. It's compact amplifiers that generally punch above their price point. In this case, the BT20Aa Max isn't just another clone in the mix. I feel like Fosi's actually listening to what people needed, and they're delivering something similar, but with some much needed updates. Let's start with what matters. The BT20Aa Max runs around $230 to $260, and that's going to depend on where you buy it and what power supply you choose. That's around twice the price of the original BT20Aa, and a solid step up from the Pro version. So while this is still very much a budget amp, it's a sizable jump in price. Let's jump to the changes and see if this one meets your needs. For a lot of people, I think the value is still going to be there, but there are some things that I do want you to know about this design. I think this is Fosi's first stereo amplifier with PFFB, post-filter feedback. It's been in their mono designs, but I don't know. Someone in the comments can let me know if I'm wrong here. I could completely be off base. I'm pretty sure it's the first stereo amp with it anyways. Okay, without getting too deep into the engineering, having PFFB, it's going to keep things in check. You're going to avoid all the peaks and the dips that result in varying frequency responses depending on the speaker impedance. So basically, you're going to get a flatter, more accurate frequency response regardless of what speaker you hook up, which this is good for everyone. It makes it easier to give all of you an accurate review of what to expect. Depending on the model, some of the early Class D amps could be sort of all over the place with the frequency response. So depending what speaker you had it paired with, the results varied a lot. And that can make it kind of hard for the reviewers to give you guys a clear idea of what you should expect if you buy this. That's one big area where the PFFB it's been an advantage for everyone, I think. I think honestly why a number of people complained about hearing what they described as like kind of the overly digital sound in Class D in some of the early designs. For the most part, I think that had a lot to do with this. It was the speaker pairings. Sometimes they were getting maybe a shrill sound because there's a lift in the top end of the frequency range, or they could have been experiencing a dip and it sounded dull and lifeless. What we're seeing today, on the modern designs, I think the sound is actually pretty good. The Max is also the first amp in the lineup that has a dedicated subwoofer output with a switchable high-pass filter. This is an example of giving people what they want. When you engage that high pass, your main speakers are going to stop trying to reproduce bass that they were never really designed to handle. The real world advantage here is going to be if you have these paired up with a set of small bookshelf speakers, you're not going to press them to push down into the frequencies that they struggle with. Bring a sub into the mix, and that's going to handle everything below the cutoff, and you're going to get an amp that's under less load, which, in turn, that means less heat, a speaker that's playing with less distortion, and a full range sound if you add that sub into the mix. This is a simple win, and I can't imagine anyone having issue here. Possibly the only ask here would be something selectable, say 70, 80, 90, but honestly, 80 is a common sweet spot, and it should cover the majority of speakers here. The Bluetooth upgrade is also pretty massive here, and while I'm personally not a big Bluetooth user unless I'm in a pinch, the reality is it's a widely used protocol that's simple and effective for a lot of people. On this one, we get Bluetooth 6.0 with support for LDAC, aptX lossless, aptX HD, aptX adaptive. If you compare that to the original BT20Aa, that one had basic Bluetooth 5.0 with just SBC and AAC. For a lot of people, Bluetooth has always been associated with compromising on quality. And while that still is the case, you're better off connecting up a streamer if you can, but I get it too. If you're not looking to, have a paid streaming service, the audio you get from here is actually going to be pretty dang good. For the most part, it was mostly uneventful. Very little compression artifacts, no weirdness in the treble, just clean sound that makes you kind of forget you're using Bluetooth at all. Another area Fosi improved from the Pro version would be the cooling system. It's noted to be 30% more efficient with a redesigned chassis that has vents on the top and the sides, plus a built-in fan. I ran this thing for hours at moderate to high volumes, and yes, it gets warm just as much as you would expect it to, but it was never concerning at all. The fan is mostly silent during normal listening. I mean, to give you guys a clear picture on the fan noise, if this amp is going to be sitting on a rack at normal listening distance away from you, it's likely not going to be noticed. But if this is at your desk, you're going to hear it in most cases. I know I was able to pick up the fan noise pretty clearly when no audio was playing. With audio, it wasn't a problem at all. You're not going to hear it, but it is there. And to be fair, I'm pretty sensitive in this area. I had an SVS SB3000 sub that had just this faint capacitor whine coming from the amp, and I ended up sending that one back and getting a replacement. I also have the UDAC here, and the power supply whines when it's off. Only when it's off though, not when it's on. No one seems to mention it on the reviews, but these are the little things that get on my nerves. Wrapping up that little rant, if you're susceptible to noises like this, or if you have, this within a couple feet of you, you might notice it. It's quiet, but it's there. My other general concern around it would be just how the fan would hold up over the life of the product. I personally view a lot of these products as sort of like few-year devices, where they're budget-friendly enough that you're going to want to move on to the latest and greatest after a few years anyways. So in that context, it's unlikely the fan is going to cause an issue. Long-term usage, I can't say, but in all reality, the fan may extend the life of the internals here. So if you have this in a more difficult area like a hot garage, it really could pay off actually. My preference instead of a fan likely would have been a bigger case, a larger heatsink, but I also do understand their market. It's, small component designs. The motorized volume control that you get here, it's fine, it works. The remote is handy, but if you're pairing this with a high output source like some of the DACs or streamers, you might find the volume ramps up just a little bit too quickly. It's not a deal breaker, but it's worth noting if you're planning to integrate this into a larger system. A couple other quick wins you're gonna see here, obviously the dual RCA inputs. That's a great addition and starts to open these up to more use cases. You also get tone control bypass, which theoretically could open you up to a cleaner sound, and a trigger, which I feel like is a must on modern equipment. You might have your streamer, your CD player, whatever else hooked up to it. It's just a convenience feature. It's simple, but it's effective, and I want it. So as for who this one's for, I think there's three main use cases that really jump out to me. And the first one's going to be the kind of the obvious desktop setup. This is perfect if you've got a decent set of bookshelf speakers and you want to add a sub without buying an entire receiver. The filter's going to go a long ways here, plus you get two RCA inputs that opens you up to a much wider range of devices. The highlight there for myself would be bringing in a streamer on one and likely something for physical media on the other. Maybe one of the small desktop-sized CD players that are kind of everywhere these days. The compact footprint means it's going to fit on pretty much any desk, and that remote means you're not constantly reaching over to adjust the volume. It's just a really simple use case. Another one for myself would be the bedroom or the office system. If you're streaming most of your music and you want something that sounds way better than just a really simple Bluetooth speaker, but doesn't require a rack full of equipment, this kind of nails it. I mean, the Bluetooth 6.0 with high quality codecs, it's going to mean your phone is going to be a legitimate source here, not really a compromise. Then the third option, the garage, the gym, the workshop systems. If you're streaming most of your music and you want something that sounds pretty good and you don't need something giant for a space that doesn't require it, this is going to fit the bill. These are great. I mean, they generally run cool. The fan may come in useful here if you're in a hot garage. The Bluetooth codecs, you're just going to be using your phone to connect to it for the most part. I think this is a really great space for a lot of these. You can pair these up with a budget speaker, find a little sub, a budget sub, and off you go. In my garage, I tend to use these little amps, like I said. I have a SBS 1000 in there, paired up with some bookshelf speakers. That goes into my TV as well. I mean, it's great. As for what this one is not, I would say this one is a bit of a different twist. It isn't trying to be an all-in-one hub, no phono stage, no headphone output, no HDMI. If you need those features, you're going to have to look elsewhere. This is specifically for people who want just sort of a compact, high-quality stereo 2.1 or 2.0 amplifier. Nothing more, nothing less. I think it does pretty well. I have a few nitpicks here, but all in all, it does pretty well. I feel like the build quality feels appropriate for the price. Aluminum chassis, no visible screws in the front panel, rounded edges. It's not jewelry, but it's solid and it's well thought out. I might personally go with a little bit more understated grille on the top instead of the max cutout, but it's kind of their look, and so I can't really argue with it. Bottom line, the BT20Aa Max costs more than its predecessors, but for legitimate reasons. The PFFB technology, vastly improved Bluetooth, dedicated subwoofer integration with proper filtering, these are the types of things that translate to real-world benefits. If you're building a compact 2.1 system, or you need a modern amp with modern wireless connectivity with multiple inputs, this is absolutely worth considering. It's not super cheap anymore, but it's still delivering way more than most of the things in this price range. Hope you guys enjoyed it today. I really like bringing you guys the budget buys, but I also like covering the mid to high-end designs that even if you're not shopping, it can be really interesting to check out. I don't know about you, but for me, it's sort of like the yearly car releases. It's fun to follow the new releases and designs, even if you're not looking to buy at that moment. For myself, I am shopping them. A family of 6 won't fit in the Tundra, so I guess I'm onto an SUV. But if you want to support the channel, please like, comment, subscribe, and even join the channel as a member if you'd like to help out a little more. Appreciate all of you. Take care. Talk soon. Later.